The Netherlands is a small but strong country with high political and economic stability that strives to realize full equality and tolerance within the society. On this week's Heart to Heart, we sit down with the Dutch ambassador to South Korea, Lody Embrechts, who'll talk about his life in Korea and what he's doing to strengthen the two countries' relations that was established back in 1961.
I still think it's a privilege to work for your country in Korea, together with Korea, to further the bilateral relationship. So for me, being an ambassador is a job that I consider being a great privilege one.
A small but powerful country, Europe's icon of innovation. Joining us today is Dutch Ambassador to South Korea, Lody Embrechts. Thank you so much for joining us today. Would you like to say hello to our viewers?
Of course I'd like to do that. I'm very happy to be here and I'm happy to answer all the questions you have about my country.
Okay, well, once again, welcome to Heart. Thank you for joining us. I do have a long list of questions to ask you, but I would like to begin by talking about how you place great importance on war veterans. So in the 17th century, a Dutchman named Hendrik Hamel, he wrote Hamel's Journal and happened to be the very first to introduce Korea, or Koryo at the time, to the West for the very first time. The Netherlands even dispatched 5,000 soldiers to the Korean War.
Yep.
And as I mentioned, you are well known to place great importance on war veterans, and I'd like to ask you if there is a special reason for that.
Well, the easy answer would be, of course, that the Korean War is very important in the history of Korea. And it's also been very important in the bilateral relationship with Netherlands and Korea. But for me, there is one element missing there, and that would be the human aspect. And indeed, we had 5,000 soldiers, a bit more even. 123 died in Korea, but many survived that war. They went back to the Netherlands as very young men.
Yes.
And in Korea, they experienced horrible things. Also, we learned the stories about what the Dutch soldiers experienced in Korea during those awful years of the Korean War. And what I've learned, what I've noticed is there was no real book in Korean language. No, about that actually told the stories of the Dutch soldiers in Korea.
I see.
In the Netherlands there was. This is a book that basically tells the story about individual stories of Dutch soldiers, what they experienced during the Korean War.
And it was translated into Korean.
Yep, we had it translated into Korean, that's correct. Yeah.
The title, 가장 잔혹한 전쟁.
It is my pleasure today to present you with a book in the Korean language that describes the experience of the Dutch soldiers in Korea.
After a while they come back to Korea because the Korean government invites them to come back, and seeing what the country has become, free, open, young people go out, coffee shops, high tech, you know what Korea is like these days. And experiencing that, it becomes part of a healing process then, the visit. Because then they realize like, hey, what I've done, what I've experienced, what I've seen, I contributed a little bit to what Korea is now. And I think, like the Korean government, I think we owe it to them, that we pay respect to them, and when they visit Korea, make sure that they leave it in the best possible way.
Yes, I guess it's every individual's part plays great importance in honoring these war veterans. Now, the Netherlands is a small country. It's a rather small country located in northwestern Europe with a population of a little over 17 million, I believe. I read that the Netherlands literally means lower countries. And 2/3 of the Netherlands is below sea level, and the climate can be quite harsh. So please tell us about the Netherlands.
I can tell you a lot about my country, actually. It's a small country. It's about 1/3 of Korea. The population is indeed around 17 million people. And indeed, a big part of my country is below sea level.
Yes.
Talking about the sea, we had to struggle with that sea forever, I think. First, it was always, causing problems in the sense of floodings and all that.
I see, yes.
But at the same time, the sea offered us also opportunities. We were born to deal with water.
Yes.
We were building ships, we were building ports, we were good in distribution, logistics. And because of having the ships, we started to become a trading nation. And we sailed the seas, and we also ended up with in places like it's now Indonesia, but also indeed in Korea with Mr. Hendrik Hamel,
yes.
who wrote this book, Hamel's Journal.
Yes.
Today is a new day, bringing endless possibilities. Today I might meet new people and be inspired, excited, and surprised. Because today I might just meet you. And I want to learn all about you, and for you to learn about me, so that together we can meet tomorrow's challenges, working side by side to create a more livable world. Because I know, whatever I can do, we can do better. Let's come up with new ideas for a brighter tomorrow in a better world. Let's meet, let's inspire, let's benefit.
The Netherlands is one of Europe's top startup nations alongside Germany and the UK. And as you mentioned something about agriculture and agricultural products, it happens to be the 5th largest exporter of goods in the world. So what do you think made it possible for the Netherlands to become such an economic power despite, I wouldn't necessarily say difficult circumstances, but considering that it is a rather small country with a small population?
Well, I think a couple of things here are important. One is the sea. The simple fact that we had to go out, deal with the water,
Yes.
made us a trading nation. And trading brought distribution and logistics to our country, and in that sense, a lot of trade as well. So we were, in a way, also blessed with being in a country, well, close to the sea in that sense. At the same time, the Netherlands is a very open country. Has always been a very open country.
I see.
That means that when big countries in Europe like Germany and France and England were making wars or whatever, a lot of people left these countries. And we always opened the doors for these people. We accepted them because we believe that it makes us stronger. Diversity makes us stronger.
Yes.
So we brought a lot of scholars, people with other beliefs and traders to the Netherlands. And because of that, we also brought a lot of know-how to our country. So we became, in that sense, also an advanced country in terms of trade and science. It helped us a lot. And what is a formula in the Netherlands, what works really well for us, is a kind of triangle concept where you have the government, the private sector, and the universities working very closely together in terms of what's best for the country and what kind of policies should we put in place to make sure we have the right people for the industry, the kind of government policies, etc. So it's a number of factors that are coming in play here.
Yes.
But the sea has been very instrumental for our development.
Yes. So once again, we'll probably be talking about the ocean, the sea again, but the Netherlands is, to be exact, the world's 2nd largest exporter of food and agricultural products. This is right after the US, the United States. I guess there seems to be a lot for us to learn. That the Dutch agriculture changed from a labor-intensive system to a somewhat very advanced, high technology industry. So how would you say that was possible?
Well, you did your homework. The agriculture in the Netherlands, let's go back to the Second World War.
Okay.
And right after the Second World War. In the Netherlands, agriculture was very small, was fragmented. We had a lot of very small farms. We had a lot of small farms scattered all over the country, but we had also a big problem. And what was our problem? The problem was that young people didn't like to work on a farm anymore. They left to the city. They saw opportunities to work for big companies, pay better and more, outlook, etc.
Yes, yes.
So what was left was an agricultural sector with basically elderly people. A lot of people found it quite difficult to survive.
Yes.
And then the government stepped in. And what the government did was they purchased the land from the farmers who wanted to get out of the business and do something else or retire or whatever it is, and sold the land to farmers who wanted to build a bigger farm, more efficiency, more land, better production. So what you got basically was a kind of system where those who were really keen on developing their farms got bigger land, and the government supported that a lot. They didn't make any profit, the government, by the way, in the meantime. The second thing is we set up cooperatives. And cooperatives where these farms, these bigger farms, started working together, like buying machines together, making sure the production would be better, making sure that they were teaming up and instead of competing with each other. So what we got here was a reform, basically, of the agricultural sector.
Yes.
By creating bigger farms, more land for farmers, more efficiency, and at the end of the day, big business for us. Big business. Because in the Netherlands, agriculture is not something that is hard work, hard labor. It's just a business. You sit behind the computer and you run it. That's the way it is done right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're just about ready to board Metro Airways Flight 566.
There are many Dutch brands that we're familiar with. Just to mention a few, I mean, there's Philips and there's Heineken. Could you maybe mention a few more or tell us about some of the other brands or products that are
How
worth
much time
mentioning?
you have?
I know, I'd love to give you a whole day, but...
I can mention a lot. One of them is on the table here, actually, this small rabbit called Miffy. What you see here is a Miffy doll designed for the Pyeongchang Olympics by our embassy. And what we wanted to do with Miffy is to create an icon, something that people relate to, something people recognize, and something that communicates easy and associates with the Netherlands. And Miffy is huggable, Miffy is soft,
Yes.
Miffy is nice. And that's one of the reasons why we've chosen Miffy as a kind of icon for a number of events we've organized as an embassy.
I see.
Yeah.
I understand that Miffy has a different name, a Dutch name as well.
Yeah, the real name of Miffy is Nijntje, but it seems to be almost unpronounceable.
Nijntje.
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 Yeah.
I see.
There's
Nijntje.
actually even a Miffy museum in the Netherlands, a Nijntje museum.
Oh wow, so that must be huge.
If you go to our Facebook, there is a special Netherlands Insight on the museum. You can see it.
Okay, so when was Miffy created then? A very, very long time ago, or?
The designer of Miffy was Mr. Dick Bruna. And Dick Bruna passed away quite recently. And he designed it for his kids.
Oh.
Because he found that there was not really something like Nijntje.
That was as huggable.
Yeah, and also to go through adventures and tell stories, something that children easily relate to. And he designed actually Nijntje, and Nijntje became big, and Nijntje is around 80 years old, I
80
believe, by
years
now. You wouldn't say, but yeah. 80
A very
years old.
young-looking.
This is a young version of it.
It's true. Okay.
But I'm going to put the challenge out because we're going to have a Facebook event soon.
Yes.
And we're going to ask our Facebook friends and fans and followers to provide us with a lot of names of Dutch companies, and I'm sure they can win nice prizes then as well. So there are quite a few of them out there. I've given you one or two.
Yes.
But it's going to be a very interesting event we're going to organize.
So whoever, I guess, puts together the longest list wins a prize? Is that how it works?
That would be a fair
or?
deal, yeah. Yeah.
Could you give us a rough estimate of how many there are? Do you even?
Well, there are at least 80 present in Korea, but there are a lot more.
Oh,
Netherlands,
my
yeah.
goodness. Okay. Yeah, you all should take part. Win a prize. Okay, now I'd like to talk about Netherlands' education system. It's stirring up a lot of attention. So what's interesting is I heard that the Dutch elementary school students, they don't get homework. Is it true, first of all? And if it is true, is it to let children, I guess, study at school and maybe play afterwards?
It sounds like you don't believe it.
It's very hard to believe.
No, it is true. It is true. What we do is we teach children in school, but we also think it's really important to let children be children.
Yes.
And I think where we are different from Korea is that in the Netherlands, doing something with what you learn is really important. Now, what does that mean? How does that translate into an education format? What we emphasize on is that it shouldn't only be absorbing knowledge and you squeeze it out at an exam and you move on to the next exam. What we do is we teach something and then students will have to do something with that knowledge. Most of the time in a group format, where they have to do some research or how would this work out in reality, or write something about it, or go out and interview some companies or people or whatever it is. But do something with the knowledge. So do something with what they teach you in school. That's one thing. The second thing is, what we emphasize, is that you do this in a group format. You learn to become a member or a leader of a group. So that means they train you in working with other people.
I see.
Right? And the third thing, I guess, that's really important here is that you prepare. You can say that. I think you can prepare children, young people for society, because this is how you prepare them for what they do also when they go and work in a company or for whatever they want to do.
So this starts as early as in elementary school?
Yeah. Well, each level has its own format, shape, but it starts quite early. Absolutely, yeah.
And do children start school earlier than in many other countries?
4 years. When you're 4 years, you go to school.
Oh, at age 4 you start school?
Yeah. Well, kindergarten.
That's fast. Usually I think it's 5 or 6 you start kindergarten, and then at age 7 that's when you start elementary school. But wow, kindergarten at 4.
4.
Wonderful.
Yeah, the system is different, but it works for us. And what I see when a lot of Korean students, we have more than 2,000 Korean students in the moment in the Netherlands. Sometimes they come back and you talk with them and they say, what's the biggest difference? And say, what we really had to get used to is that particular thing where you have to work in a group, where you have to take ownership, responsibility, and process in a way what they teach you. And I think that's a main characteristic of Dutch education system.
I like the idea because for me, I'm sure it's different now, but when I went to school, there were occasional group activities in elementary school, middle and high school, but in university and colleges where you actually get to go out and meet people and get hands-on experience and work more in groups. But it's wonderful how kids starting at a very young age actually get this opportunity. Okay. Now, your relationship with Korea seems very special, as is our country's. You were first assigned to Korea from 1993 to 97 as head of the economic department, and then you returned in 2015 as an ambassador. So could you tell us about what it was like when you first came to Korea and when you returned? How different was it? What did it feel to return
Yeah.
to Korea?
To be honest, it's a different country almost. But to be very honest, I came back a lot in between because when I left in 1997, I left with a Korean lady. I married a Korean woman.
I see.
So I've been back a lot of times. But Korea now is very different from Korea in the 90s. A few things like in the 90s, if you want to drink a cup of coffee, you couldn't find that in the street. You had to go to a hotel, right?
That's true, yes.
And you can still go to a hotel and drink a coffee, but now it is almost impossible to find a street without a coffee shop.
That's true.
Right?
There's one on every street corner.
Yeah, and what I found when I arrived here in the 90s was that Seoul was a city built to support economic growth. Beauty was not so much an issue. It was, housing companies, housing government, housing people, and go, bali, right? And now, if you come back, you see that Seoul has been given back to the people almost. It's opening up.
Yes.
Quality of life all of a sudden becomes an issue. Look at with the river that opened up. Look at the Gwanghwamun area. The whole city becomes more people-focused, people-oriented.
Yeah.
That's also something I found really significantly different. And speaking English, in the 90s, it was really struggling to find someone who could help you in an English language. Not so much anymore. Not so much anymore. I can go on, but these things that the Koreans themselves, the Koreans in those days were working 6 days a week. Long hours.
That's true. Even on Saturdays.
Even on Saturday.
That's right. You remind.
Yeah.
That's
and now
true.
it's more balance
Yes.
coming in, right?
Now it's a 5-day work week.
Yes.
Back then in the 90s, that's right. That was 6 days, Monday until Saturday, and you only got 1 day off, Sunday.
Yeah, and we did that too. So this is for
Must
us
have
it's
been
the same.
difficult for you. Oh, wow. Okay, so of course there were so many changes.
Yeah.
So these are just a couple of the most noticeable changes that
For
you've
me,
mentioned.
but I mean, yeah.
Now I'd like to ask you about your goals, aspirations you hope to achieve in Korea while you're here in Korea as Dutch ambassador.
Well, the easy answer would be something like to improve the relationship between Korea and the Netherlands on a government level, blah, blah, blah. That's part of it. Let's be honest, that's part of my responsibility, that's part of my job. What I personally find very important is to connect with the Korean society. Reach out to the Koreans in the Korean society in different ways, in different formats. Be it in terms of business. This is for us the second market in Asia, don't forget, after China. Or education, or culture, or whatever it is. So in other words, I like to tell the Korean people who we are, where we come from, what our identity is, what opportunities exist in my country, and how to reach out to these opportunities together. Either in business sense again, or education, or culture, or whatever you're looking for, sports. And what we do then from an embassy perspective is, of course, we do our government-to-government thing.
Yes.
And organize seminars and all that. But we also try to reach out in a creative way to different parts of a society. And we do that in different shapes and formats, either by, like during the Olympics, organizing inspirational talks where we about Paralympics, how in the Netherlands handicapped people are supported and part of the sports society.
Yes.
We do that through bringing a DJ like Martin Garrix. We brought him for the closing ceremony and a concert for the people who helped in the Olympics. But also online events we organize a lot actually. Give a lot of information about the Netherlands Insight programs we do, cultural programs. So each of these things, if teaching at school even we do, it targets a different part of this society. And what we really want is the society to also give us feedback and come back to us with, oh, we need more this, or we'd like to see that, or such and so. So for me, that part, telling the Korean people who we are as the Netherlands, what we stand for, and where opportunities are to learn from each other and to work together is something really important.
I'd like to thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Really enjoyed every moment of our conversation. And thank you. I know that you are very, very busy with a lot of work to do, but despite your busy schedule, thank you once again for joining us today.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
네,
Thanks a lot.
감사합니다.
Yeah.